40 weeks out of the year, this tanker is not stopped at all.
Hi, I'm Jonty Lister. We are farmers based near Boroughbridge, a firm called Jonty Listers Farms. We operate over roughly 2,200 hectares, of which probably 1,700 are arable, primarily pig farmers. We've got 2,500 sows, finishing the majority of those on slatted units, so producing a lot of slurry. We're here today looking at the NC tanker with the 12-metre dribble bar. We used to run two 3,000 gallon tankers. We've increased capacity on one of those tankers by 50%, increasing it to 4,500 gallons. I think we'll probably roughly produce about 30,000 cube, so I don't know what that is, 6 million gallons of slurry. We've changed our system, so a couple of years ago we would have been spreading the slurry in the autumn onto stubbles, followed by wheats or barleys. Following regulations and moving forwards, putting that slurry on in the spring in the growing crop. Seen massive benefits with that. Our furthest farm that we would take slurry from is 15 miles up the road, so increasing capacity by 50% when it's an hour's round trip. It's making a massive difference to us, massive increase on efficiency. Also a few things to note about the tanker, the overhedge boom, so when we're tipping into one of the big lagoons, we've got a 1.5 million gallon lagoon. Rather than the operator getting off the seat and plugging in a pipe, it's a real quick and easy job. Unload pretty quickly into the lagoon, and also back at the farm when we're loading the tanker, the easy fill arm, again just operator comfort, increased performance from the operators as well through that comfort. We're testing slurry every year. If we're putting on 30 cube of slurry per hectare, that can be the equivalent of 40 kilograms of nitrogen, so it's a huge saving, especially a couple of years ago when the nitrogen prices were up at £800 a tonne. That really does equate to a useful resource. So yeah, we're using it a lot better now. Difference between pig slurry and cow slurry, we personally think it's got a lot more nutrient value, a lot more higher nitrogen, big on the P's and K's, which we've got to be careful with, which will be something of an issue going into the future with limiting the amount of P's and K's into water sources. But yeah, very corrosive, but we've found that the tanker is holding up well to the liquid.
My name's Moggy. We're at Zine Hill, leading pig slurry to a field that we call the back of Ross's. I'd like to think today me personally, I'd like to do about 15-20 acres in a day. I've been working with this outfit for about 21-22 years. Well, we have breeding units and we also have fat finishing units, fattener units as well. I think they're farming about 3,500 acres. Very variable. We have some right strong clayey sort of land, when we have some blow-away sandy land as well. NC tanker it'll be 3 years old this October. She's got the overedge boom. I have a spreader bar on the back, autofill arm, or as I call it, the lazy fill arm. And that's about it really. Very good if you've got a big pit or a reception pit that holds a lot of slurry. I mean, one of our pig units I can go and I only have to get off twice, maybe 3 times in a day, because I can just use my lazy arm all the time and it fills up quicker. And also if you've a lot of junk in your slurry, with it having the turbo fill up, I know it isn't a macerator, but with having the turbo fill on it, it seems to chop it up instead of it going in the tanker and blocking everything up. They spec'd it with 710s on, you know, which travel fairly reasonably well. I usually run them about 60 psi for less compaction, but we do a lot of road work as well, so at 60 psi 4 bar we're about right for any conditions really, to be fair. Well, it's a 4,500 gallon tanker, it's a big lump, you know, and it rides very, very well. I mean, we're pulling it with a 215 horsepower tractor. It seems to handle it okay. I mean, it's 215, I think the booster sells to about 230, somewhere in that region. I mean, as far as the steering goes, it follows very well on the road, and there ain't many gateways I can't get into. 40-50k, and it just sits there nicely. if anybody was buying one, I would have advised them to get the European ballage on, because you haven't got all the pull and yuck and rav, you know, with a ring, and it just takes everything out of it. It ain't bouncing about as much on the hook up and down, braying the bottom of your, knocking your pickup hitch to pieces. The trouble is with the slurry application now, you're geared by rules and regulations and dates and how much you're allowed to put on and when you're allowed to put it on. It's just, from my boss's point of view, it's a nightmare. When we do go, we have to be geared up, ready and gone, you know. We have no time to waste, you know, because with 4 farms, once they're shouting they're full and we've got the lagoons and everything full, and the dates will allow us, we've got to pick the fields and try and go. Anybody come with me and I showed them what was what, within 2 or 3 load I could have them going on it, you know, sensibly and safe enough to leave and just let them get on with it. The local NC man supplied it, which is Chris Jackson Engineering. His son Tom seems to look after this side of it.
Jacksons are fantastic, only down the road at Ripon, so 10-15 minutes for us. Tom and Chris just on the other end of the phone, been really helpful with any teething errors straight out on the farm, or drop it straight in and they'll generally have it turned around in the next day. Yeah, so as I say, we've had the tanker for a few years now, probably 2 or 3 years. As I was mentioning earlier, the corrosiveness of pig slurry. The finish on the tanker, the paintwork's held up really well. Can't fault it one bit. If you had a walk around now, I don't think you'd be able to find any corroded parts to the tanker. Yeah, NC have been fantastic, good to talk to. Reliable tanker, good finish, plenty of array of colours for whichever tractor you might want to run it on. Yeah, all in all, I don't have a bad thing to say about them at all.
My bosses seem quite happy, so in the day, as long as they're happy, I'm happy.